Hi there, this is Gary Ryan Blair, and I've got a question for you. A critically important question, and that is, what are you committed to? You see, answers to this question have changed the course of history. So let me give you a couple of examples. From 1956 to 2010, that being 54 years, Jerry Lewis's answer was to help find a cure for neuromuscular disease. And his relentless determination and commitment to raise billions of dollars for muscular dystrophy has profoundly affected the lives of millions of families. The philosophy behind Lewis's decades of devotion and commitment to MDA, muscular dystrophy, is summed up in a motto he often quoted. He said, "I shall pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, that I can do or any kindness that I could show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again." Now let me shift gears and tell you about Harriet Tubman and her commitment, which happens to be legendary. See, born into slavery, Tubman escaped and committed her existence to helping others, to include family and friends, to gain their freedom. And known as the Moses of her people, she used the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses, known as the Underground Railroad, and served as its conductor. At a great personal expense, Tubman was steadfast in her commitment to freeing people from slavery, and she was never caught, and she never lost a passenger. Let me give you one more example. 2.4 million babies' lives have been saved due to the lifelong commitment of a gentleman by the name of James Harrison, an Australian known as the man with the golden arm. Harrison's blood is unique disease-fighting antibodies that have been used to develop an injection called Anti-D, which helps to fight against Rhesus disease. Every week, for 60 years, for a total of 1,173 blood donations, he has donated blood, and for that, Harrison is considered to be a national hero in Australia. Now, these stories shine a bright light on some extraordinary people, and they illuminate the importance and the urgency of sustained commitment. So what's the main difference between a pro and an amateur? Between a person who actually gets things done and someone who barely moves the needle? And that answer is commitment. In my book, there's but one acceptable degree of commitment, and that is total. Now, if you think about it for just a moment, you'll come to understand that commitments present themselves in delineations of black and white. You either honor your commitments or you do not. Success, no matter how you define it, is the result of making and keeping commitments to yourself and others, while all failed or unfinished goals, projects, and relationships are the direct result of broken commitments. It's that simple and that profound, and it explains why what you're committed to is one of life's most important and urgent questions. So let's talk about the high cost of broken commitments for just a moment. See, a commitment made must become a commitment honored, as each one counts in more ways than you could possibly imagine. Your ability to honor your commitment directly impacts your credibility, your reputation, your trustworthiness, earning ability, and your overall peace of mind. Every day of your life, you make promises and commitments to customers, to family members, and to associates. Some are explicit while others are implied. However, each one ultimately results in success or failure. Nothing builds confidence and loyalty more reliably than a history of well-kept promises. And by the same token, nothing will undermine your reputation faster than a string of broken commitments. Now, if you look at successful people in any field, you'll find they're not necessarily the brightest, the best looking, the fastest, nor the strongest of the bunch. But I assure you this, what you will find is that they are the ones with the greatest depth of commitment. Successful people understand that all great accomplishments are preceded by great commitment. So, here's a question for you. How great is the power of your commitment? You see, a man or woman without their word is fundamentally worthless. It's like having a stain on your reputation that no amount of bleach could ever remove. See, if your word is not supported by action, if you take a cavalier attitude towards your obligation, well, the party's over. You may as well stick a fork in your reputation because no one's going to be interested in working with you, much less being associated with you. So your word is a form of capital. It's money in the bank for someone who is counting on it. And that being said, you should only invest your capital where and when it counts most, or it'll lose all its value. And because your word is like currency, you must give it only when the occasion is important enough to call for it. See, the person you're promising something to must be able to recognize your commitment or promise has real value and that it's not counterfeit. And you certainly don't give away your money to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And you should treat your word with the same level of respect. Remember, what you don't protect, you don't get to keep. And your reputation is a terrible thing to waste. When you habitually dishonor your commitments, when you lie to yourself, how on earth are you going to find the strength and the character to honor the commitments that you make to others? See, there's no backdoor to a self-made promise. There's no contractual loophole. You either maintain the contract or you are in breach. That's why I said earlier that there's but one acceptable degree of commitment: total. So your lifelong challenge is to adopt the following philosophy, which will ensure that your commitment will always, and I emphasize, will always be honored. If you make a commitment, you honor it. If you make a promise, you keep it. And if you set a goal, you achieve it. Commitment counts. Mark it down, asterisk, circle it, underline it, and by all means, enforce it. And honoring your commitments is one of the core bedrock principles of the 100-Day Challenge. From the moment you begin, you'll get everything you need to make sure that every promise is kept, every commitment is honored, and every goal is achieved. So check it out at 100daychallenge.com and make it the very next thing you do.